All right, so get this. India is really going all in on their PAN card system.
Yeah, like a complete overhaul, huh?
Yeah, a total digital makeover. They're calling it PAN Card 2.0.
2.0, gotta love it.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And we've got a whole stack of articles to dig through. Times Now, the Financial Express, even some in Hindi.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yeah, so we're going to really try to break this down for everyone listening.
Yeah, and it looks like the Indian government is putting their money where their mouth is. This project's got like a RS 1,435 crore budget.
Whoa, that's serious cash.
More than some countries spend on, well, everything digital, you know?
That's a great point. It really shows how much this matters to them.
Definitely.
Now, for anyone who may not know the PAN card or permanent account number, it's basically like a social security number, but for taxes in India.
Yeah, think of it like that.
Right. It's used for everything. Opening bank accounts, filing taxes, all that stuff.
And this new 2.0 version, it's bringing the whole system into the digital age.
Totally. And what's interesting is it's not like a requirement for people who already have a card.
Nope, they're not forcing anyone. It seems like they're going for more of a, incentives approach.
Right. Like, hey, look at all the cool stuff you get if you upgrade.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's talk about those cool things. What really caught my eye were the QR codes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, imagine all your PAN info accessible with a quick scan.
No more carrying around that physical card.
Exactly, or trying to remember those 10 digits.
It's a huge step for security, too. Think about it.
Oh, right. Less chance of identity theft and fraud.
Exactly. It'll be way harder for someone to use your info illegally with QR code authentication.
Speaking of security, one of these articles mentioned a PAN Data Vault.
Right. A centralized digital hub for all PAN-related info.
So what is that exactly, and how will it actually keep people's information safe?
It'll have layers of security, encryption, access controls, the whole 9 yards.
Okay, so it's like a super secure digital lockbox for your PAN data.
Yeah, you could say that, though how effective it is really depends on how they, actually implement and maintain these security measures.
Yeah, transparency is key.
Big time.
But okay, aside from security, these articles also talked about how PAN Card 2.0 could simplify a lot of processes, like KYC.
KYC.
Yeah, know your customer, that process banks and other institutions use to verify your identity.
Oh, right.
I mean, right now, it's kind of a pain. Lots of paperwork, run around to different offices.
Yeah, it's fun.
Exactly. But PAN Card 2.0 could, make the whole thing digital.
Much faster, more efficient.
For everyone involved.
Yeah.
And it's not just KYC. One of the Times of India articles even mentioned integrating PAN 2.0 with digital wallets.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, imagine paying your taxes with just a tap of your phone.
That's pretty futuristic.
Right. I'm all for that kind of convenience.
I mean, it's a glimpse into a future where your PAN card is like the center of all your financial stuff.
Yes, simplifying everything. Transactions, tax filing, all of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds pretty good so far. But, there's always another side to the coin.
Mm-hmm.
What are some potential downsides or concerns people are raising about PAN Card 2.0?
Well, the big one is data privacy.
Yeah, of course, anytime you're dealing with sensitive info like taxpayer data, you got to make sure it's protected.
Exactly. And even though the government is really pushing the security of this PAN data vault, some experts are saying, hold on, let's see how this plays out.
One article even quoted Sandeep Chunjunwala, the big investor in India.
Yeah, I saw that.
He said something like, while the benefits are great, the government needs to prove that these security measures actually work.
Yeah, makes sense.
Right. It's not enough to just talk about security. They have to show it.
Absolutely. They need to be open about how they're tackling potential issues and have a solid plan if something does go wrong.
So it sounds like security is definitely a top concern, but the potential benefits seem huge.
For sure.
But how does this affect the average person? The listener tuning into our deep dive, what's in it for them?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right. And to answer that, we need to dig a little deeper into the features and what they actually mean for people.
Agreed.
So we just left off talking about how PAN Card 2.0 could impact, everyone.
Yeah, how it affects, the everyday person.
Right, not just the big businesses and investors.
Exactly. And one thing that came up in these articles was financial inclusion.
Oh, yeah, I remember reading about that.
Like India has a huge population. Right?
Yeah, massive.
And a lot of people, especially in rural areas, don't have access to even basic financial services.
So how does PAN Card 2.0 help with that?
Well, think about it. Someone in a remote village, maybe a farmer,
Right?
Right now, they might have to travel for miles just to open a bank account.
That's crazy.
But with a digital PAN card, and most people have a simple mobile phone these days,
Right.
they could potentially access all sorts of financial services without leaving their village.
Wow, that's a game changer.
It is.
And I remember one of the Hindi articles talked about how this could really empower women entrepreneurs.
Oh, yeah, making it easier for them to get loans and manage their money.
Exactly.
It's a huge step towards equality.
Absolutely. But while we're talking about inclusion, what about digital exclusion?
What do you mean?
Well, what about people who don't have smartphones or internet access? Won't they be left behind with this new system?
That's a good point. A purely digital system could create a new kind of divide.
Exactly.
But the government is aware of this issue. They're looking at different ways to bridge the gap.
The articles mention things like dedicated service centers and even like door-to-door help for people who need it.
Right, so there are options.
But those options have to be, actually accessible and easy to use.
Absolutely, especially for people in remote or marginalized communities.
It's a real balancing act, right? Trying to use technology to improve things, but also making sure nobody gets left behind.
Yeah, finding that sweet spot where innovation and inclusivity meet.
Okay, let's switch gears for a second and talk about the economic impact of all this.
Okay, yeah.
A lot of these articles are pretty optimistic about how PAN Card 2.0 could boost economic activity.
And attract foreign investment.
Right, they're saying it could make the whole financial system more efficient and transparent.
Which are good things for business.
Exactly. And one article even compared it to what China has done with their digital payment system.
That's interesting.
They said PAN Card 2.0 could put India on a similar path, like a major economic player.
Yeah, China's digital transformation has definitely played a role in their growth.
Right, but of course there are always risks. What are some of the things that could, throw a wrench in the works?
Well, for starters, this is a massive project. We're talking about over 1 billion people.
Wow, yeah.
Managing something that big, it's not easy.
And then there's cybersecurity. With all this data online, it becomes a target.
Absolutely. They need to have top-notch security to prevent attacks.
One article said that the whole thing hinges on trust. People need to feel confident that their data is safe.
Otherwise, they won't use the system.
Exactly. They need to see that it's reliable and secure.
Transparency is key.
So it sounds like there are a lot of pieces to this puzzle, big potential benefits, but also big challenges.
That's what makes it so interesting, right? It's not just about the technology. It's about how it affects society, the economy, everything.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
It is.
So we've talked about what PAN Card 2.0 is and why it matters.
The big picture.
Right, but the big question now is, how are they actually going to do this?
How are they going to roll this out?
Exactly. What's the plan?
Well, from what I've gathered, they're taking a step-by-step approach, starting with building the digital infrastructure.
Okay, so laying the foundation first.
Exactly.
All right, so we're back and we're ready to tackle the how of PAN Card 2.0.
The big rollout, right. How do they actually make this happen?
Exactly. What's the plan?
Well, it looks like they're taking a phased approach.
Okay, so step by step.
Yeah, and the first step is building the infrastructure, the digital foundation.
So they're starting with, creating that online portal we talked about.
Exactly. A single portal for all those PAN and TAN services.
I bet people will appreciate that. No more jumping between different websites.
It'll streamline things for sure. And on top of that, they're developing that centralized system for managing PAN data.
The PAN Data Vault.
Yep, that's one.
Okay, so the groundwork is being laid, but when can people actually see these changes?
Well, the articles mentioned April 1st, 2024 as the target for the first phase.
Oh, okay, so coming up soon.
Yeah, and that first phase is focusing on online applications for new PAN cards.
So going completely paperless.
Exactly. Good for efficiency, good for the environment.
Makes sense, but what about people who already have a PAN card?
Their cards are still valid. No need to rush out and get a new one.
Okay, so this is optional, at least for now.
Exactly. The government is really emphasizing that. They're not forcing anyone.
So it's more about showing people the benefits and encouraging them to upgrade.
Exactly. They're even offering the upgrade for free for a limited time.
Oh, wow. That's a good incentive.
It is. But even with free upgrades, rolling this out to over 1 billion people, that's got to be a challenge.
Yeah. How do they even reach that many people?
Communication is key. They're talking about public awareness campaigns, online resources, working with different groups.
So a multi-pronged approach.
Exactly. Hitting all the channels. Social media, community outreach, the whole 9 yards.
They're really trying to cover all the bases.
They are. They're even considering things like mobile vans with the technology to help people in remote areas apply.
That's a really good idea.
It is. It shows they're thinking about accessibility.
Yeah, making sure no one gets left behind.
Exactly. But let's be real, there are bound to be some hiccups along the way.
Of course, with a project this big.
One challenge is just the sheer scale of it. Coordinating something like this across all of India, that's not easy.
And then there's the digital literacy issue.
Right. Yeah, even with outreach, getting everyone comfortable with a new digital system takes time.
For sure. And we can't forget about cybersecurity.
Oh yeah, that's huge. Protecting data at this scale is a constant challenge.
Right. Any security breach could really damage the whole thing.
Absolutely.
So there are definitely some hurdles, but the potential benefits are huge.
They are. Imagine a more digitally empowered India, seamless transactions, accessible government services, more economic opportunities.
It's a pretty inspiring vision.
It is, but achieving it will require careful planning, good execution, and a commitment to inclusivity.
And maybe most importantly, listening to the people who will be using this system.
Exactly, getting their feedback and making sure it works for everyone.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, it's clear that PAN Card 2.0 is a big deal.
A bold move with the potential to really transform India's digital landscape.
It's a story that's just beginning, and we'll be watching closely to see how it unfolds.
Stay curious, stay engaged, because the future of digital innovation, that's something we're all a part of.
Absolutely. And on that note, thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure exploring this with you.
Until next time.